There's no fake ones here. The first Enigma was produced in Germany in 1923 using Edward Hebern's idea. When it was built, it was four-rotor, but it was really going to be marketed to commercial and government interests, banks, lawyers, department stores, whatever. In 1933, Hitler confiscated this whole company for the use of his war machine. When he did that, they modified it from its original four-rotor form to a three-rotor device, but they added a plug board on the front that added a fixed scrambling of characters to what the three rotors did, just to make it a little more difficult. There is a rotor disassembled on the wall, and you can see the wires do not go straight across from one side to the other. Now here's a couple let's go over to this one that works better. Working machines. Gather in. If I press the key, a light will light. If I press the same key again, a different light. Each time I press the key, that rotor moves a position, making a different path through these. In fact, the path goes from the key through the plug board, up through the three rotors, reflects back through the three rotors, back through the plug board, and then it lights a light. So, now, somewhere in the 26 positions on the first rotor, the second one will get pushed forward one. At that point is selectable before you put that rotor in. Somewhere in its 26, this one gets pushed forward. That means it takes 26 to the third power of characters before this repeats itself. 17,576 characters. That's pretty complicated. Not only that, with this machine, later on, the Germans issued a box of 5 rotors, and they had a schedule for each day of the month which 3 of the 5 rotors to put in which order, which starting point to use, which rollover point to use, and which patching to put up here in front. And they would change that every morning. And with all of those complications, they were certain that nobody would ever figure this out. But we know that's not true. In fact, these 3 gentlemen were in the Polish Cipher Bureau in the early 30s, and they had gotten a hold of a machine and were able to express in mathematical equation form how it worked. If they knew which rotors were in the machine, mathematically they could decrypt it. Now, this is before computers. This is pencil and paper math, and it had to have been a terribly tedious job, but they could do it. In 1938, they invented a device they called the Bomba. Now, the Bomba actually had 6 sets of rotors on it and a drive motor, and it would start stepping through all possible positions. If at some point one of those 6 sets of rotors suddenly started to make sense out of Enigma, they would know that they had found the key. They actually built half a dozen of these, and they built a number of analogs. They were Enigma lookalikes, but Polish built, so that once this found the key, they could then go sit there on the machine and decrypt the message. They were getting a very good handle on German communications. But of course, in 1939, Hitler invaded Poland. When he did, they added 2 more rotors to all the field units. So instead of having 3 rotors, they had 5. And suddenly, this little Polish Cipher Bureau is in over their head. They need help. They went to the British and French looking for help, and where they got it was from a group in England we know as the British Government Code and Cipher School at Bletchley Park. Alan Turing was the lead mathematician of that group. The British then ended up building a more elaborate form of this device shown under 1940 called the British bomb. Now instead of 6 sets of rotors, we have 36 sets of rotors. that will simultaneously look for the key to that machine. If it had the right set of rotors in it, it would find the key within 15 minutes. You would then have the key for that link for the balance of the day, have to start over again tomorrow morning. Now that device is about as big as the space between these two columns. The British ended up building 200 of those. The German Army, Navy, Air Force are all using Enigmas. They're all changing their rotors and their keys daily. It was a big job. 200 machines got them in pretty good shape. In May of '41, the British happened to capture a German submarine, U-110. With it, they captured a complete Enigma, full set of rotors. The head of the German submarine service knew that had happened. He knew then at that point that his communications were compromised. In reality, they've been compromised all along, but his experts kept convincing him not to worry about it. At that point, he says, I gotta have a better machine. And the German Navy got one just like this one on the right-hand end here. Looks about the same, but now it's back to 4 rotors. Otherwise, they're about the same. When that was delivered to the fleet in February of 1942, these 200 British bombs were totally useless against it. In fact, all we or Britain could do against the 4-rotor Enigma from February of '42 until about September of '43 was to direction find on the signal. I know it where it's coming from over there, but I don't know what it says. But February of '42 was now after Pearl Harbor. The U.S. was now in the war, and our Navy cryptographic group, who was known as Op-20G, said, this is a Navy problem, we'll take it on. And they would then, what they built is around the corner here. Now we have a machine with 8 sets of 4 rotors on this side, another 8 sets of 4 rotors on the other side, a big drive motor system down below, and up here you see all of these dials. For each set of rotors, there's a pair of dials. You would set the first dial to a specific cipher character, set the second dial to what you